Yes, I'm ROCIO HERBERT, co-founder of Blue Dot Change and director of outreach. And my role there is um, reaching out to groups and people to make sure that everyone's included in the conversation. Um, yeah. I'm sorry. That's all I have. It's like,
No, it's fine.
Do you have your notes?
One more time. Sorry.
that's all right.
Right, I can record it.
Okay, yes. So I'm ROCIO HERBERT, co-founder and director of outreach at Blue Dot Change. What I do at Blue Dot Change is outreach to people. So people are engaged with what we're doing, bringing people together. Our aim at Blue Dot Change is to bring a climate solution that is financeable, scalable, permanent, and safe. Our vision is to restore our climate to a pre-industrial state, a state that we have survived long term, a state that is safe for our kids, for ourselves, for our kids and our grandkids.
How did you get involved in this company? What attracted you to it?
I got involved. I decided to get involved during Christmas of 2019 when my son came home, and he was just telling me all about what he was doing in college. He was so excited, his future plans. And I was having a hard time looking at him straight in the eye because all I could think of is his future and realizing that his future was at stake, that he may not be able to do all the things he was talking about. So it was then that I decided to do something about it. Soon after, I had a conversation with Peter Fiakowski, and he was telling me that the methane technology was ready and that no one was doing anything about it. So in conversation with him is that we decided to co-found the company Methane Oxidation Corporation with the sole mission of reducing methane levels in the air.
And when you heard that there was a solution, what was your reaction to that?
Oh gosh, thinking of my kids, it was just, it's worth doing. It's like, what else is there to do? So yeah, investigate it, look into it, make it happen.
What's your reaction when you talk about what you do to other people? That you're at a dinner party, you meet some friends of friends or something like that, and they say, what do you do?
People are fascinated, and people really admire what I'm doing, what we're up to, and they usually thank me, and because it allows them to go on with their lives, and they know that we're gonna take care of it, like literally.
Do people grasp it? I mean, you know, if you were working on the Super Hadron Collider and you say, oh, this is what I do, they'll go, oh, really? Okay. But, sorry. Can I just ask that question again then? If, you know, you're out somewhere and you tell people what it is that you do, do they get it and do they buy into what it is that you tell them?
They are very informed.
Oh, sorry, can you start that as a statement? Like, you know, if I'm at a dinner party or if I'm out and I tell people, because I probably won't use my voice, I won't use the question.
And if I tell them that I'm working on what I'm working on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm at a dinner party and I tell people what I'm working on, we usually don't get to the nitty-gritty. I lose people then, but they understand enough. My circle is well informed, and they understand the concept, and they are glad and grateful that there's a way to deal with the problem. So yeah, and when I see them again, they ask me, how am I doing? And what I find as well is that people try to provide support, whatever I need, they offer.
Can you go into detail about the work that you do in terms of outreach? What are the challenges that you face? What are the challenges that you deal with?
Yeah, challenges, the biggest challenge. We found that the biggest challenge is not technological. It's not about the technology at all. It's really social and political. So, and those are aspects of the social arena, the social science. Um, so, let's see. So, what we're doing is outreach. So, I think it's really important to reach out to groups, um, especially NGOs, environmental organizations, indigenous groups, to build relationships and a sufficient amount of trust that we can share so we can move forward together. So it's important for us to bring people in to move forward together. And as a matter of fact, we're already reaching out to communities directly. I recently visited Ecuador, the indigenous peoples of Ecuador, the Otavalos in the global south. And so I was curious to know what's going on because I'm up here and I don't hear what's going on in the global south. And so I asked them questions. I shared with them about methane removal, and then I listened. And what I found out was that they're in the front lines, and they are already experiencing the effects of climate change. They're experiencing crop losses, crop failure, and not only that, but they're experiencing food insecurity. And what that looks like is this anxiety in the background in their daily living of life. So it was, they are adapting as best as they can, but it's, I didn't bring anything new to them, basically. The thing that was surprising and very exciting is that these folks are like our partners in climate restoration. They want their climate back, and they're available and willing to collaborate with us in restoring the climate.
Could you comment on, if it is an issue, just that the idea of first world going to another country and potentially sounding prescriptive, saying here's a solution. How do you overcome that barrier?
So my background is in anthropology, and so I listen, and I find that when you listen, I wasn't being prescriptive. I was asking them questions and listening to what they had to say to me. And when I approach them, and they're not the only group that I'm approaching. There's another group that I'm approaching now, and in my questioning, I'm inviting their partnership, because I believe that they want us to do this, and we're doing this for the betterment of all of us. So I haven't gotten that I'm being prescriptive, and perhaps it helps that I'm also from one of those countries.
Do you ever get any pushback or comment, should I say, that the people that seem to be more cooperative are people that haven't particularly contributed to the problem in the first place?
Ask me again.
Okay, can we just drill down a little bit more about your interaction with them, what you're offering them and what you expect from them?
Mm-hmm. So when I go down to, say, the indigenous people of Ecuador, what I want is to bring them into the conversation. I ask them questions, and I want to hear their concerns. What we are doing to remove methane is not going to be on land. It's going to be far from land. So it's not going to per se affect them directly, other than it's the same air that we all breathe. So our operation is going to be done in the open sea, away from land, away from people. And one of the things that came up is we can't pay for it. We can't afford it. But we're not asking for them to pay for it. In our business model, we're having the rich people who emitted the methane pay for it. So all I'm doing down there is really offering them a seat at the table. And it's important to us to get a seat at the table at the very front end. And this is the very front end. And it's really important because in speaking with them, and like I said, they're not the only group, it informs expectations. And so it informs how we're structuring the company, and we're able to include their expectations and concerns in the structure of the company as we build it.
Okay, in terms of the US, can you just talk a bit about the process of the work that you do within the US? I mean, I'd say the types of dialogues that you get into in the US as far as outreach.
Yeah, the U.S. is a bit more tricky because people have a relationship with technology that is different than in the global South. So in the global North, there's a lot of pushback, there's a lot of fear. But again, in my mind, there's no distinctions. It's just as important to bring all the groups in because, we are doing this together. So even if people are reluctant, in my mind, I want to have relationships with them, and I want to build sufficient trust that they know that we are doing what we're doing safely.
What are the types of groups that you interact with?
In the U.S. or in other groups?
In the US, yeah. Corporations, grassroots groups? Or?
Well, and that again is a U.S. This company is actually in South America, but it was founded by U.S. people in this Pachamama Alliance. And here in the North, I'm just beginning the outreach. But I am considering reaching out to organizations like, I think it's called Environmental Network Alliance, EIN Network, Environmental Indigenous Network. There's Extinction Rebellion, there's Greenpeace, there's, just all sorts of different organizations that will be next, currently we're reaching out to regional organizations in the Pacific Islands, and that's where my focus is right now.
Okay, great. Maybe you answered this. Is there any kind of call to action that you hand out to people?
That's a good question, because what we're asking is really for their partnership, their support. We're asking them to, voice their concerns to us, and that's all we're really asking at this point. And to support the conversation, to share it with people around them.
Again, you may have answered this, but just in the shortest soundbite, when you explain the process of the methane capture, do people get that? If you could just talk about that when you explain the science behind it, and do they believe you?
Well, the groups that I have been speaking with, and I'm thinking of the indigenous folks, it's like common sense to them. We put it out in the air, we take it out. It's like, like, what's there to that? We're mimicking nature. Like, what's the big deal with that? So I haven't heard, from those groups that it's anything outrageous. Actually, I was just speaking to someone from Europe, and he said, "Oh, you're like a vacuum cleaner. We put it out, now you're going to vacuum it out." So that's at that level, right? Now in the Pacific Islands, I got a question of, okay, so like, give us a little bit more data kind of thing. And we will. But I have not received, because we're just mimicking nature. And the chemistry has been shown in the lab. There's really no negative effects of any sort that anyone is feeling at this point. Or that they will, actually.
Just my last question. Your thoughts on the future. Are you optimistic? Where do you think this is going?
I'm super optimistic. I really believe we can restore the climate. We're taking steps. We're reaching out to people. There's a, current plans to have a governance body for all these projects at the, global level. So I am, I am very optimistic, and I'm really optimistic that we can, scale up the technology and that we can do this. Because, every assessment that we have modeling environmental impact, we haven't seen anything that people will be affected, the ecology, the ocean, any major is really small, the amounts of vapor, but that will add up to remove methane eventually within the decade.